Hello, my name is Ben,
And my name's Josh.
and welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video. And today, well, it's the start of a really busy period in FPL. 7 game weeks in just 1 month. We're ready and waiting to get ahead and get involved with our teams. Let's get straight into our teams for this week.
I'm going to kick off into my team. Obviously, I wildcarded last week. Not the best week considering I wildcarded. It was a bit of a tricky one, though. A lot of tough fixtures in that game week. So we'll go through the team as it is at the moment. And there is a couple of problems in the team already, despite wildcarding last week. So Areola is going to be the keeper this week. I've got him or Sanchez, and I think Chelsea, against Brighton will concede. I also think West Ham will probably concede to Crystal Palace, but it's the lesser of two evils. It's a home fixture. So he's in goal for me at the moment. In defence, we've got Saliba at home to Wolves, Charlie Taylor at home to Sheffield United, and Fabian Schär at home to Manchester United. I think Saliba and Taylor are relatively decent picks for this game week. Sheffield United, one of the worst attacking teams in the league, and Burnley are at home as well. So I think you have a good reason to play Charlie Taylor this week. Same with Saliba. He's just been Mr. Consistent and probably one of the best assets to own defensively at the moment. Fabian Schär, it's not ideal to play him against Manchester United. Manchester United can score goals at the moment. It's just that they concede as many as they're scoring. But yeah, that's the defence at the moment. What's your thoughts on that, Ben? Is there any changes that you'd make?
Yeah, I think it's a decent defense, to be fair. I don't know if you've just sort of unshared your team on the screen there, but yeah, with your team and your setup, of course, with Areola, it's going to be difficult to keep a clean sheet, I think. But like you said, it's one of those ones where I think he can get save points and that sort of thing. So I don't think that should be too much of an issue. And your defense is pretty solid. I mean, Fabian Schär, I think he's probably going to concede, but there's every possibility that Newcastle can do what they do at home and absolutely blow Man United away. And Fabian Schär would be in with a shout of an attacking return anyway. So very decent to start with. And like you said, with Taylor, Sheffield United at home, it's probably one of the only fixtures you'd start in a season. So why not against Sheffield United at home? It's the perfect fixture for, Burnley to maybe get off this sort of poor run of form that they're on.
Okay, so hopefully you can actually see my team now. Into midfield, we've got Jarrod Bowen, who's the biggest if, but maybe at the moment. Obviously, he wasn't involved in the squad at the weekend. He also isn't in the squad for tonight's game at the time of recording for their Europa League or Conference League clash. So not looking good there. I took the risk with bringing him in on the wild card because I thought the Burnley fixture was worth it if he was to start. But obviously that injury seems a little bit more long-term than what David Moyes sort of told us last week in the press conference. In Mbeumo, Luton at home. Luton are defensively okay at home, but really bad away from home. So I'm hoping that Mbeumo can get a big haul here. Really nice fixture, and he's been really good most of this season. Son away at City can always bag there. City defensively seem to always concede a goal pretty much every game. So Son would be my money on in terms of Spurs scoring. And then I've got Salah on the armband at Fulham at home at the moment. Still debating between him and Haaland. Obviously, Spurs literally don't have a first choice centre-back fit at the moment. So there is upside to go for Haaland. But I think either way at the moment, both of these guys are going to be over 100% effectively owned at my rank. So it's quite important to pick the right one at the moment, because if one outscores the other by quite a lot, you can see a definite big rank change. What's your thoughts on the midfield, Ben? And who would you sort of be looking at? Would you get rid of Bowen at the moment, or would you just keep patient?
It's difficult because David Moyes, we know what he's like. He never gives anything away. With him being a doubt for this game, he's going to be a doubt for next week because it's a midweek game week next week. So I'd be tempted to ship him out if we get confirmation that he's out. I don't know how strong your bench is, but like I said, if you're starting Taylor, you probably got someone decent-ish enough on the bench to cover if it was just 1 week. But again, with so many fixtures in such a little time, it might just be worth getting rid for now and waiting and seeing for when he's back, because you just don't know with that sort of injury. It's a knee injury. We know it ruled him out of the last England game. It's ruled out this week. So, and we just don't know. So I'd be more inclined to transfer him out than not. And then in terms of your captaincy, Mine's firmly not on Salah at the moment. I'll get a little bit more into that later on.
Awesome. And then we go into the attack as well. We've got a 3-man attack, probably for the first time this season for me at the moment. So we got Haaland on the Vice, Tottenham at home. Obviously, I'm sure Ben will talk more about him a little bit later on. Solanke, I don't know how Bournemouth scored 3 goals against Sheffield United last week, and he wasn't involved in any. Really disappointing. Aston Villa at home, though, there's potential every single week for Solanke. He's one of those talismanic figures who usually, other than last week, would return when Bournemouth score. And then we got Cameron Archer as well. So Burnley away. Obviously, I am playing Charlie Taylor. So it's sort of that contradiction there in terms of the fixtures, but I think it's in these scenarios, it can be worth playing both sometimes, because you can sort of like split your bets 50-50. And if they keep a clean sheet, hopefully Taylor will do that. And then if they don't, hopefully Archer scores on the other end. So that's the front three at the moment, Ben. I'll show you the bench so you have more of an idea as to why we're playing the likes of Archer and Charlie Taylor this week. So as I mentioned earlier, Sanchez, Brighton at home. I think this game and then next week, obviously Chelsea have Man United midweek. After that, Chelsea's run is ridiculous, so that's when Sanchez will come into the team. We've got Eze, who obviously went off injured as well in the first half, or in the start of the second half, for Crystal Palace, which isn't ideal. I've been trapped by Eze again. It happened at the start of the season, and now it's come back to bite me again, which is so infuriating. We got Tyreek Mitchell, West Ham away. Wouldn't really mind playing him, to be fair. It's not the worst fixture in the world. And obviously West Ham missing Jarrod Bowen. They saw against Burnley how late they left it, sort of thing, to win that game. So, yeah, he's not necessarily out of contention. And then they've obviously got Harry Maguire. Will not be looking to play him at all. I think Newcastle will 100% score against Manchester United at St James's Park. So, yeah, that is the team. One free transfer. Now you've seen the bench and stuff, Ben. Where would you first look for sort of problem solving 1 week after the wild card?
Yeah, it's not the most ideal situation for your wild card a week after, because it doesn't look great in terms of your starting 11 overall, because as much as you're splitting your bets with Archer and Taylor, with something like that where the EO is so low, you'd probably rather go full in on one or the other. Because it doesn't really do too much for you if one scores and one blanks, because they're both really differential. So yeah, the priority is probably in this situation to sort out the midfield, because everyone else's teams seem really strong on paper in terms of a midfield and attack, whereas yours has got 2 of the 3 key injuries in FPL at the moment. So one of those is going to have to go and sort out, and it's probably, I would be more inclined to sell Eze, because the fixtures are a little bit tougher for when he's back compared to if Bowen comes back at the same sort of point. You're looking at better fixtures and a better team going forwards maybe as well. So that's where I'd potentially look into making a transfer on one of those 2 injured, and probably more likely than not to transfer Eze out. You could even do like the Cole Palmer move a couple of weeks early as well, for Chelsea's fixture swing. So that'd probably be my move there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Cole Palmer was one of those ones. It was either going to be Eze or Palmer going into last week. Chose Eze. Obviously, got a bit unlucky with that. But I think Cole Palmer, even with this Brighton fixture at home this week, I think that's a good fixture for Chelsea. Brighton are so poor defensively. So if you're like me looking for a cheap defender as well, a cheap midfielder, sorry, I think Cole Palmer is probably the best of the bunch.
So moving on into my team, and as we know, wildcarded a few weeks ago, and I'm on sort of green arrows ever since then. It's a bit of a climb back at the moment, but we start off in goal. We've got Areola as well in goal. Now, again, I'm not too confident on a clean sheet from West Ham, because they've been a little bit disappointing defensively since I brought in Areola. But I'm anticipating, hopefully, that this fixture is a little bit low scoring, because obviously I've got Gay in centre back in my defence as well. So I'm sort of hoping one or the other keeping a clean sheet. Difficult one, but it's entirely possible. I'll just have to wait and see on that. But I'm a little bit more confident on the other 2 guys in my defence, Gabriel and Tsimikas. Klopp made some comments on Tsimikas needing to get into a good rhythm of games over this period, which is really good to see. Spoke about him on set pieces and corners and that sort of thing. So I think for his price point, he's been really good value for me so far. And then Gabriel, I'm hoping retains his place in that Arsenal team. He played 90 minutes midweek alongside Saliba, and they looked fairly secure and not really too much threat for them. So I'm hoping again that he gets the nod against Wolves at home, with sort of two midfielders or key midfielders for Wolves out missing as well. Josh, initial thoughts on that? A couple of similarities in the defence, but also a couple of differences.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure with that Liverpool game. Obviously, there's no Alisson there for Liverpool for the short to medium term, especially over the next 3 game weeks. Anyway, given the fact that there's 3 games in the next week, so it'll be interesting to see if that sort of affects them. I think Kelleher is not a bad replacement. He's sort of been okay when Alisson has been missing. Obviously, in years gone by, that wasn't the case with the likes of Adrian and Karius. So yeah, interesting option. I think Tsimikas, like he proved like 2 weeks ago or before the international break, that he can be really, really explosive. And a lot of people might be sort of shipping off of him because of that fixture last week, like myself included. Obviously, wildcarding didn't include him. So yeah, it's a decent pick. Like I mentioned with Mitchell, I think that Palace West Ham game, what could happen? They're missing, both teams missing key players, especially in the attacking areas. So a 0-0 is definitely not off the cards there, especially with the way that both managers set up as well. I think that could be a probability. So yeah, 2 decent fixtures there. And then Gabriel, like you say, Wolves at home. You'd expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet there, but again, Wolves under Gary O'Neill have been pretty good this season. So who knows? We could have 3 clean sheets or we could have none.
Okay, so moving on into the midfield, and I'm actually really happy with how my midfield is set up for this week. Looks really good off the back of obviously my wild card and a couple of free transfers. So we've got Son, who is one of the most sold out players this week, which is understandable after 3 blanks in a row, but I do think he has good potential to score against Manchester City. City haven't been as sort of good defensively this season. They have been in previous years, and Son has a good record as well against Manchester City. He scored, I believe, 7 goals against them in his time at Spurs, so that's not too bad at all. And Mbeumo against Luton at home, prime fixture for him. Brought him in for this fixture, really. So I'm hoping to get a decent return from him. Bukayo Saka, his stats have been underwhelming the last few weeks in the Premier League at least. But I do anticipate Wolves at home. Gary O'Neill, as much as he's done a good job, they are missing key players. So I do think Arsenal should get the job done. And they played really well midweek. So I'm anticipating that should hopefully kick them on and get them scoring some more goals going forwards. Salah, Fulham at home. Not captained this week. I will be going captain Haaland this week, barring like injury news, etc. As much as Salah, Fulham at home is a great fixture on paper. And he's consistent with his points returned. I just think the fixture for Haaland is so much better for a number of reasons there. And then Cole Palmer as well to round it off. Like Josh said, decent fixture for Palmer this week, and hoping he can sort of get an attacking return or 2 in that one. So Josh, what are your thoughts on that midfield?
Yeah, it looks really nice. Obviously, a couple of players similar to my midfield with Son and Mbeumo and Salah. Palmer could also obviously enter my midfield this week, given the amount of injuries that I've got. And then obviously Bukayo Saka, an interesting one for me. I've not been a fan of him this season just because of how poor Arsenal have been attacking. Obviously, last night they scored 6 goals, which is something we're not really seen in the Premier League so far. So yeah, hopefully for you, they can sort of turn it on in the attack. But I think what Arteta is doing is making them a lot more pragmatic. And, when they do score, they're not going to be conceding as many goals, because they did concede a lot of goals last season. And I think this season we're seeing a more experienced Arsenal side winning games, 1-0, 2-0, nothing too fancy, but they're getting the job done. And that's all that they need to do at the moment.
Moving on up top and on my bench, Ollie Watkins away at Bournemouth. I think Watkins has looked really good for the entirety of this season. Again, been quite consistent in his return. So more than happy to keep him, even for their tough fixtures. They've got a nice one before, a couple of tough ones coming up. And then Haaland is nailed on for my captain this week. Spurs aren't going to change the way that they play. They only know one way to play, and that's a high line, full pressing, gung-ho approach. And that's just perfect for Haaland. And that would be perfect even with their fit centre-backs. They don't have any. They're playing full-backs at centre-back. Ben Davies, I'd argue, is maybe more of a centre-back these days than a full-back. So I do think a lot is going to go through him, and there's going to be a lot of goal potential here for Manchester City, which is why I've doubled down and gone for captain on there. Then on the bench, it was a bit of a slight benching decision with Branthwaite, but I'm happy to have him first on the bench. Nuri, is a frustrating one. Obviously, came off injured inside 20 minutes last game week, which wasn't ideal at all. And then Wolves went and scored one of their goals, or had a really big chance down the side that Doherty was about 20 minutes later. So a little bit frustrating. I don't anticipate that I'm going to make any transfers this week. I'm going to bank it and use it for midweek next week, just because I know it's such a short turnaround. If there's one or two sort of injury concerns, I'll probably transfer them out. So it'll probably be a case of transferring out Ait Nouri and someone else next game week. But yeah, Josh, that's the team. That's the plans. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, really nice. Watkins is someone who I haven't owned all season long. So it's one of those players that's super frustrating to watch from my point of view, because he's so high owned at the moment this season. I think he's like 70% effectively owned at my rank. So yeah, Bournemouth away, really good fixture for Villa, and a lot of people who sold Villa assets prior to this game week would probably be missing this sort of fixture, which is, I know I personally will be. I think Haaland captain is definitely a good choice. I think between the two, for me, there's not too much in between them, just because how good Salah is at home, and also the fact that Salah gets more points for goals, etc. And then, yeah, the bench obviously is a little bit weak, but I think you'll survive this week. And then obviously you can use those 2 free transfers, as you alluded to, going forwards. But yeah, overall, mate, looks really good. Okay, so that concludes our Game Week 14 team selection video. Let us know what you think we should be doing in the comments down below. Who should I be transferring into my midfield scenario? Should I get rid of Eze? Should I get rid of Bowen? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.